Now it's time for perspective, and I want you to think honestly about the suggestion and I'm going to put to you now. If you listen or you hear a piece of rap music, I hope you might take it as a piece of quality music, even if its style might not be to your liking. Imagine, though, if you're hearing that music as part of a criminal trial and that the person or persons on trial happen to be young black man or men. Well, today, Perspective tackles the stereotype that could affect the way that might be perceived by some jurors, influencing perhaps their decisions in a case. And my guest today is Dr Abenaa Owusu-Bempah. She's Associate Professor of Law at the London School of Economics. She's also part of a group called Art Not Evidence, campaigning against the use of rap music in court. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. First of all, just explain to us what you think the problem is here. I mean, surely if the music is relevant, it should be heard.
Well, thank you for having me. And I guess that kind of sums up the problem. Often the music is not relevant. So we're seeing increasing numbers of cases where prosecutors, with the help of police officers, are relying on lyrics and music videos as evidence in criminal trials. It could be that a defendant has written lyrics or they're found on their phone or in their possession, or it could be that they are participating in a music video, dancing in a music video, or even sometimes just engagement with the music. It seems possession or sharing or commenting on music and videos gets treated as evidence of their involvement in a crime. And the music might have violent or criminal themes, as is common in some subgenres of rap, especially drill, which is really popular at the moment. But more often than not, it's not actually about or connected to the offence which the person has been accused of. So courts and juries are being asked to take it at face value, to interpret it literally, and to draw inferences about someone's character or their conduct or their behavior. And rap is also very unreliable as evidence of statement of fact anyway, because rappers, part of the conventions of rappers rely on hyperbole. They make outlandish claims and extreme boasts, and there's a lot of figurative language and symbolism and so on. So it's very difficult to decipher between fact and fiction, even if at face value it does look like it's relevant to a case, which, as I said, it often isn't. So
presumably what you're saying is that just because somebody listens to, or as you said there, even writes something, doesn't mean they necessarily plan to follow it through or did follow it through in the case that they're being judged for.
Right, unless there can be established a direct and reliable connection between the music and the offence that they've been accused of, it's usually simply not relevant or reliable evidence.
Presumably there can be some cases where the music should be heard. I mean, if the lyrics, for example, particularly if they've been written, are so close to a crime that's been committed, then it would be relevant.
Yeah, if a link can be established such that they detail the specific facts of the offence, for example, they include information which only the person involved in that offence would have easy access to, things of that nature, then yes, they would be relevant and arguably in some cases reliable evidence. But more often than not, like I said, that's not what we're seeing. I mean, even just being a participant in a music video, in a drill music video, can become evidence of someone's gang membership or association if the police and prosecution can say that this is a sort of gang video because they like to associate drill music with gangs. And I've seen, one case in particular, which I found really concerning. Participating in a drill music video at the age of 14 became evidence of gang association 2 years later when a defendant was 16, which became evidence of his motive for joining in a murder, even though he wasn't accused of actually committing the murder himself.
And presumably it's very difficult as well who actually makes the decision whether a piece of music is relevant or not.
Right, and that will ultimately be the judge's decision. But relevance itself is a relative concept, right? We're not all going to agree on what is relevant in relation to what increases the likelihood of what inferences we can draw from evidence. And if one doesn't have proper knowledge or understanding of the music, of the culture, of the conventions, about why rappers rap about the things that they do in the way that they do, or why drill rappers put forward these sort of authentic portrayals of criminal street culture, then it can be very easy to just take it at face value. And at face value, it may look very relevant, but when you take into account those cultures, conventions, and so on, it starts to appear as much less relevant and reliable evidence.
There's another side to this as well, because it's not just about stigmatising the individuals in court, but to a certain extent, you're actually stigmatising the music itself, aren't you?
Yeah. And there's been a long sort of moral panic around rap music. It has long been associated with crime and criminals. Our first #1 drill single in the UK was described in a newspaper headline as the soundtrack to murder. So rap has long been stigmatized, and it can end up curtailing, freedom of expression and undermining the artistic merit of the genre, and which is actually one of the most popular and profitable genres worldwide at this point.
Looking at it from a completely different perspective, I mean, there will be people listening to this who are saying, actually there is violent and unacceptable lyrics in some rap music, and actually it's right that it's being, that people are hitting back at it in this way because perhaps it's not acceptable.
Well, I mean, the question is who is to judge what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable within the music? And I don't condone everything that is said or done, but the same could be said of lyrics in other genres of music, in violent films, violent novels, violent plays, and so on. But we don't see this kind of targeting of other genres of music or forms of creative expression or its use in criminal trials. And ultimately, when it comes to individual criminal trials, the question isn't do we condone what is said or done in the music generally, but is this specific music relevant to this specific case?
Good to talk to you on the programme today. Thank you very much for joining us. That's Dr Abenaa Owusu-Bempah. She's Associate Professor of Law at the London School of Economics, also part of that group, as I mentioned, Art Not Evidence. Thanks very much.
Thank you.